All right, so with us today is Karina, COO of Stori. Welcome to the show, Karina.
Thanks for having us.
Good deal. So, Karina, for people that don't know you, your business, your product, can you kind of give us the 30,000 foot look at Stori, and then we'll go ahead and dive in after that?
Sure. Story is part of RCU, Responsible Cannabis Use, and we're a cannabis education company. We believe in fighting cannabis stigma through education and conversation. So we have three different products that are for the public, for the employers, and the most exciting one for home for the consumers, which is Story, the cannabis storage product.
Gotcha. And so, focusing on education, tell me a little bit about the education side of things, real quick, before we get into the whole story, because I'm really excited to jump into Story. I see you guys are popping off on Product Hunt and doing great things. So, just let's hit on the other two sides of RCU, which RCU stands for Responsible Cannabis Use, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Correct.
Cool. So, let's talk about the education side.
Yeah, we started back in 2018 because we saw a gap in the marketplace, that real education about the laws and what's okay and what's not okay is missing out of the equation. Everybody's talking about terpenes, which is relevant information, but nobody's talking about what we call the unsexy information of cannabis. So we created a site called caniknow.com, which lists all the recreational and medical cannabis laws in Canada and US. And what we did is ran campaigns and asked people questions without any awards about cannabis and cannabis at work, cannabis on the road. We expected to get 10,000 participants. We ended up getting over 70,000 participants in our surveys. One of our most popular one was cannabis at work. This is what led us to create, we got about 15,000 people to participate in that survey, and 80% of people said that they want cannabis at work education, which led us to our next product called CanEd, which we created for employers and employees, really to address people managers and employees don't know how to deal with cannabis at work because it's new to everybody. So this is the idea of get that conversation again started and educate people to reduce the stigma.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stigma in the industry. It's hard to find talent. That people that, hey, you're in the cannabis industry, you kind of have like this, black X on the back. You can't get a job anywhere else, or employers won't hire you even though it's legal. So that's a great way to kind of start that conversation, facilitate that conversation, and give a framework for people to discuss again this taboo or kind of stigmatic product out there.
Exactly.
Good deal. So then, all right, let's jump into Stori here. So tell us a little bit about Stori and what this actually is so the viewers can understand what we're going to be talking about over the next little bit of
Yeah,
time.
Story. So Story is a cannabis storage product that's for our home. This is it.
Nice.
Post. What it is. So what it comes with is 6 color-coded pods and tubes. So the pods are meant to store 7 grams of cannabis inside, and the tubes are made to really color match and color code the product that you have in here. So the idea is you're no longer just buying weed or cannabis, you're buying different varieties. So it's the same as wine. You're buying a Merlot, you're buying a Shiraz, and you want to make sure you remember which product you actually have and which one you enjoy. And it's happened to most consumers is they have a joint left over and they forget which one it is, or they are rolling to go. That's why the color coding system works. So it's a color coded system that's smart. What we made is the tubes and the pods. We didn't want to make another plastic product that's out there. That's what we're actually trying to avoid. We made them out of food grade aluminum for the pods and the tubes, and this is obviously, we just wanted to make it sturdy. It is made out of plastic. This serves as a rolling tray.
Nice.
This comes with this room for your accessories. It will come with white dry erase marker to really label your products, because I don't know, I'm sure you've seen the actual legal products that you don't really know what's happening. These are the ones that are in Canada. So this really helps you put the information on here. And the most smart part of it is it comes with a companion app on your phone, which you can download at yourstori.com, which helps you record again your inventory, track your preferences, and really discover regional products. As you know, different products are available in different regions. If I'm in Detroit versus us in Toronto, it's completely different LPs. So this helps you discover different products that are available to you.
Oh, that's super slick. That's like kind of the Apple-esque product of storage out there. You see like very cheap stuff out there, but this is kind of the super ultra premium for essentially the connoisseur of cannabis, or even subpar from the connoisseur, someone who just has almost a fanatic weed kind of person that just has lots of different things. You go to the store, you don't buy just one thing. You usually buy and walk with a couple. So it seems like a really smart idea.
And the idea is it's meant to not only store the dry flower, it's meant to store your edibles in there. We really wanted to move away from plastic. So I've had edibles that are bought in one of the plastic containers, and you can taste it on the actual product. So the idea is we really want to work with LPs in the long run for them to reduce the amount of packaging that they're doing and really simplify their packaging. So when consumers bring it at home, they can just pack it up into their Stori, and that's where it's stored. And again, food safe aluminum that's not leaving plastic in your mouth.
Super smart, super smart. So kind of what's the genesis of this idea? I mean, there's like lots of opportunities. We know that we need new types of packaging and storage, but specifically for Stori, what was the genesis of bringing this product to market, or trying to bring this product to market, which is now successfully getting its legs under it? I think it's coming out. We said December 20th. It's shipping, I think. Cool.
So the main idea is we really stand behind, again, fighting stigma. So we wanted to give people a conversation starter at home, similar to the wine that I mentioned. But how it all started, it's a simple story. When cannabis was legalized, we were buying different products, and one of our counters just ended up being taken over by all the different packaging. And it's anybody who's dealt with cannabis, and you have a bunch of accessories and you have papers. So you needed a place in your house for this now. So that's where the pods really came with the idea. Then I had a story. I went to an event with my girlfriends who don't live in downtown Toronto and are not as to speed if cannabis is legalized. We smoked a joint before we went into theater. They were very concerned. If this is okay, if this is not okay. In Ontario, it's allowed. So we were fine with it. And then we didn't finish it, and I had a roach left over. And I looked at it, and I didn't want to throw it on the street. I didn't want to put it in my purse. So that was kind of where we understood the problem. And what I ended up doing is putting it in my purse, which ruined my purse. I walked through the theater and it smelled. So that's why we created the tubes to be airtight as well, to really eliminate that smell and not ruin people's purses. And so you can have your cannabis on the go.
Super smart. Yeah, hey, it's best to solve. I think the best businesses are those such that you are the target customer and you solve your own problem, because you know that you're solving a real problem and not just making something up that, hey, this could be something big. This is actually a true pain. I totally understand and feel the empathy of, looking at a countertop full of plastic, containers, and you're like, man, I feel like so wasteful that I have all these. You wish you could bring it back to the store and recycle it. So that's not a real thing. You can't, at least in the stateside, you can't do that. So I think Stori is a great solution to one of the biggest problems. Yeah. What do you do when you don't finish everything, or if you want to keep things organized?
And the same idea, we continue to reiterate on the problem that speaking to different consumers. So a lot of my friends are moms. A lot of my friends do consume cannabis, and they're hiding it in the most random places in their houses to make sure that their toddlers don't get to it. So that's why we've made everything to be child safe, to make sure that they can't get at it, and you can feel comfortable. It's beautiful enough to leave it in your living room, but you know that your toddler is not going to go and open it and consume some cannabis, which would be the problem.
Yeah, that would be a big problem, that for sure. So let's then kind of switch gears and talk about the people behind Stori. Are there designers? Is this all done in-house? Have you hired people out? Tell us kind of about the team behind Stori, if you could.
Sure. It's a small but mighty team. So there's 3 co-founders. It's myself, Ashton, and Ilya. I come from a financial services background, so I'm a CPA by trade. I've spent my entire career there, but when cannabis was legalized in Canada, I took it as an opportunity to do something different, and I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And Ilya and Ashton come from tech, so they were at an agency before, and then they were at Shopify. So they really bring all of that into Stori. So that's why there's the app. That's why it's designed well. So that's really convenient for us to have that on the team. Our industrial designer that we work with, he's also actually now at Shopify. He's originally from Ottawa, and he won a bunch of awards, and we were lucky to have him design Stori. And then we have 3 other team members who are more doing either development or marketing for us.
Gotcha. Great. So it sounds like a super powerhouse team, small, nimble, but able to really get the job and get the product over the finish line. So fantastic on that. And then let's talk a little bit about Product Hunt. How did that go? I saw you guys, you're like the number 2 product of the week, number 5 of the month. That's a pretty exciting, but also I've launched some stuff on Product Hunt. It can be a really nerve-wracking too when you get yourself out in front of everybody. So tell us a little bit how Product Hunt went.
It went really well. We were surprised ourselves on how well it went. It was a really good day. I don't know if you've heard the Shopify ring that they do every time you have a sale. So it was a great day when we launched it. Yeah. We got a lot of sales from that, but the best piece that we got from that is a lot of feedback from the community. So if you look through the comments, people are super supportive. They're like, thank God somebody's thinking about removing the plastic out of the environment. What we also received is, you wouldn't believe, some developers actually send us, they probably spend 4 or 5 hours developing just the layout of how the app should work. You guys should think about this. Super engaged community that really is trying to support us. So that went really well, and we continue to get a lot of traction from there.
Good deal. So that kind of brings us to the next part. Let's talk about the app. Let's talk about the functionality, the features, the benefits. I saw a lot of cool stuff. I'll let you kind of hit on a few things, and I have some questions as well to dig in on that. So tell us a little bit about the app here.
So the main piece of it is really, again, discovering the products. You don't really understand. It just says sativa and this percentage on the box. When you actually put and you track it into your inventory, we will have product information that gives you more about the product and more information about it. And then you can track that preference as well. Hey, I like this. Hey, I didn't like this. And again, time of the day. So right now, its functionality is for inventory and discovery of different products. Our long-term goal is, when we're talking to retailers on a reseller program, is to be able to offer offers through the app if that consumer bought it from that retailer. So that's really our long-term game of us having really one app for product discovery, product purchasing, and inventory. So you don't want to be looking at 3 different apps when you're using your cannabis. So that's really the idea.
Super smart. I saw one of the things was like a recommendation engine. Is that something you guys have on this as well?
Yes, and we're still working on that piece because I don't think anybody's have figured out the recommendation engine yet, because I think it's super unique. But yeah, that's the idea. I truly believe that it can also serve the medical community, not the rec community, because medical community has been really overlooked. And I think that's more of a global, because that's what happens in any of the legalization. Medical goes first, then it's decriminalized, then rec is legalized. So I think tracking preferences in your experiences and recommendations would be key for the medical community. So we are working towards that.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, the medical community does seem to kind of catch the tail end of the stick here. Once rec goes, it's like everybody, all the producers pretty much just shift their production over to rec. And yeah, you see supply squeezes with the medical market. So it's good that you're looking at both of these markets and making sure that everybody gets their day that they can actually have and use this product. So really good on that. Let's talk about product development here and building a business. You know, in cannabis, you talk about the unsexy parts of the industry. You know, you're being a CPA, you can only kind of guess that, hey, we're dealing with the unsexy parts at Green Grow CPAs. No one wants to talk about taxes. People don't want to talk about education things to a certain extent. They'd love to learn how to build this business. So let's kind of talk about, you know, it's not sunshine and rainbows in cannabis all the time. There are challenges. There's significant challenges and friction in building a business. So let's talk about maybe one of the biggest challenges in developing a product or a service or a business in the cannabis industry, and how you guys have overcome that challenge.
Yeah, very good question. Tons of challenges. We need to figure out which one we want to focus on. So I think for our CanEd course, we had a challenge, and I think a lot of it is really COVID related at this point. The product was built. We talked to a bunch of employers. The product was ready to launch, was ready in February, and then COVID happened.
Yes.
So, and guess who our target audience is for all the for courses for employers? It's the HR professionals who are now dealing with how do I put people to work from home? What do I do? So cannabis kind of went on the back burner from them, but we're seeing it pick up, and people, in my opinion, people just want to talk about something else other than COVID at this point. So we're seeing more of a pickup. Then on Stori, what is challenging is the regulations and marketing regulations. So we are not a cannabis brand. We are not an LP. We're not a retailer. We are just an accessory to cannabis. As much as cannabis is legalized at a national level in Canada, Facebook and Google still restricts us in many ways in the way we're able to advertise, which is obviously a challenge to the entire industry. None of the companies can connect with their consumers in a meaningful way, which is really the challenge that we are trying to solve with Stori. Is this is not only a physical device that you have in front of you that has function. That's what we're trying to build through the app, to have licensed producers and retailers have that real strong connection with their customers, because that is a huge challenge. You can't do billboards, you can't do Facebook ads. What can companies do in this environment? So this is what we're trying to solve. Our latest one is the challenges with Stori. So building a new product is always difficult, from design to manufacturing. Layer that on top with the pandemic, no traveling. I was supposed to spend some time overseas for a couple months in the summertime just to ensure our production goes smoothly. Of course, I could not do that. So we did have a delay. We were expected to launch in August and ship it out to customers. We are now early December. What we actually did, this was a tough call for us to make as a startup. What we decided to do is in September, so whoever purchased the products before, we are giving them $10 back a month for every month that we are delayed, because we want to make sure that customers trust us, and we are a reputable brand. So we were super surprised by some of the comments, again, that we received, and the feedback that we received when you send out that email to our customers. A lot of them said, don't worry about it. I know what you guys are going through. We don't want your $10 back. Just keep working on Stori and bring it home to us as soon as you can, which was, again, it was a super stressful time for us trying to bring it home. And again, it's just the customers that we have and the engagement that we have, was seeing those emails is super awesome for our customers.
100%. It's great to get, that positive reaction back from the community. And I think it's a very upstanding move. You see a lot of new products launch, or you see them on, Indiegogo or any other kind of those crowdsourcing platforms, and it's delay after delay, and most of these products never get across the finish line. It's great that you're actually putting kind of the fire under your team. Like, look, we're losing money every day, not just on missed out sales, but we're giving money back. So I think that's a great way to build that credibility with your user base, and kind of creating that aligned effort with the team to, hey, we really need to put this over the finish line. So super smart idea. I love that. So let's talk. What's pricing like for this product here? It's super beautiful, super, super nice looking. What does it run for someone to get a Stori?
In Canada, the MSRP is $250. In the US, on our Shopify store, it's $220.
Nice. Hey, that's pretty affordable. It seems like it's probably a lifetime product too. I've had these trays from IKEA for like 10 years. They've lasted forever. Probably the best ROI I've had, but I would love to have something more beautiful. Again, you can keep it out at your house. Less having kids, if you don't have kids, it's actually seems like a nice piece you can keep out, and actually a conversation starting piece if you got it on the middle there. So I like that. That's really good. Let's talk about, why the cannabis industry. From talking about the team, it seems like no one has a specific background in cannabis, or like an extended background in cannabis, shall I say. So with RCU and Stori, why jump into the cannabis industry aside from, hey, it's legal and there's an opportunity? Is there an affinity or passion behind the cannabis movement from your team?
My background, I was at Sunlight Financial. We were the first insurance company in Canada who allowed medical cannabis coverage and 3-year benefits. So when Sunlight did that, it was a big deal internally for us to be able to offer that. And I got really curious more about the plans and more about how the industry really works. And that's why, from the employer perspective, I'm super keen in getting it into every employer's educational curriculum, because it needs to be addressed. So medical cannabis is there. Patients are taking medical cannabis. It's okay if I'm taking other drugs and showing up to work, but medical cannabis really has that stigma. So the idea of breaking that was really interesting to me, that it's okay that this is happening and we need to. And again, it's not about fear mongering. If you smoke cannabis, you're gonna have an accident. It's more of an inclusivity conversation. So your policies, what a lot of employers did was they just put a comma behind alcohol in their substance management policies to include cannabis. But that's not the point. Nobody's taking alcohol for medicinal purposes. People are taking cannabis for medicinal purposes. They just don't talk about it because they feel like their manager might have a stigma on them. They may get all the awesome projects now, but if your manager finds this out, you might not get the awesome projects later, or worse, get fired. So I think that for me was the passion of, this is more of an exclusivity, and I think this needs to be more out there. From my other 2 co-founders, I think a lot of it was, we saw a lot of tech missing and a lot of tech missing in the cannabis industry. So I don't think anybody has full experience in cannabis, but I think bringing e-commerce into this and bringing design that's actually easily understood, the information, making information easy to understand for consumers, is what drove them to it. But yeah, I think that's
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, the story about there's not a lot of tech in cannabis, so there's we're like in the 2002, 3, 4, 5 of the kind of the tech upswing in the cannabis industry right now. And yeah, there's so many great products being made, and there's so much great frameworks out there to build these tech products on. So I'm excited to see how this all opens up for the tech side of things. And it's great that you're a pioneer. You and your team are pioneers in that specific aspect, and not just going after the easy, low-hanging fruit. And it's not easy, shall I say, but low-hanging fruit, POS, track and trace. Actually going after a consumer product that, hey, it may take a little bit more to get going, but once it grabs, this is going to be a highly desired product. And I think that it's very indicative by, you say, your product hunt did pretty well and everything, all the pre-sales. So big kudos to the team on that, being very thoughtful and forward thinking on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So let's talk about maybe like, what is one of the things that you wish you would have known about the cannabis industry before you got started? There's so much to learn, but there's probably like a few nuggets that when you look at, the industry and you get into it, you go through some friction and it's like, man, I wish I would have known this. It would have saved me so much pain and heartache and frustration. What are some of those kind of early things that you wish you would have known that you now know?
Yeah. I think the most challenging one that we go through is the different regulations, even province by province, which are challenging to us. So Canada is, you would think it's legalized on a national level, so the rules should be the same across the board. They're not. So in Ontario, for example, in BC, you need a marketing license in order to market any cannabis products.
Mm-hmm.
We live in Ontario. We didn't know that piece of it. In Ontario, you don't need a license to do this. So it's, I think, just the regulations by state, province by province, and dealing with different stakeholders on the government side was the challenge, because we naively thought that we are legalized on a national level, that everybody should have the same goals in mind. And we found that their goals, although they're aligned at the higher level, they have a different agenda or the way working through them. So I think that was the biggest challenge that we had to figure out how to navigate in the beginning.
Yeah, the red tape, it's easy to get tripped up on. I was talking to someone in BC about the craft farmers co-op up there, and just how there's a national kind of movement forward, but it's interpreted very differently at each province, and even each city has their own types of things there as well. So hey, you're not alone in the fight against the regulations, or dealing with regulations and dancing around them and making sure you're not running awry of them. It's kind of, think, probably the one of the scariest things for everybody in the industry is like, we just don't want to get in trouble by some kind of, didn't dot the I, didn't cross the T type of thing. So, I echo your sentiment on that.
So I think the way we dealt with it successfully now is we are part of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce on their cannabis board. So that gives us a lot of insight into the industry locally. We're also part of the National Cannabis Council. So there we get to hear the voices from across the country of what's happening. So that's how we really decided that we need to stay in tune to what's happening in the industry in order to support the industry through the work that we do. So we found that actually meaningful and actually super rewarding for us. We should have done that in the beginning. We did that a year into it.
That's good. Yeah, getting involved in the policy, and seeing what, look, there's 2 different or 4 different or 8 different conversations happening. You have consumers, you have LPs, you have people that are product dev, and then you have physical product dev and tech product dev, and every other conversation, local leaders, state leaders, province leaders, and national leaders, they all have their own thing they're trying to preserve or create. And getting in those conversations early is super helpful, and it's good that you guys did that. Especially, you're not I would call you not a cannabis company, but you're not a plant touching company, essentially, right? So this is good that you're part of that. And it's kind of one of the things I'm hearing through more of these interviews is like, get involved in the conversation. If you're not happy with how things are, spend the time, talk with the people, and then let your voice be heard. If not, then you're kind of not making your own sunshine.
Exactly.
Good deal. So, if you could step into my shoes, what have I not asked you about? What have we not talked about that you'd like to either share with the viewers or talk about your product? What else have we not talked about that you'd love to cover today?
Good question. I think it's more of awareness of the product, and really the issue that the problem that we're trying to solve is really that we don't want cannabis to be the next plastic bottle problem. So I think that's the piece that we do really want to focus on, is the environmental problem. I know TerraCycle is putting things into dispensaries or into retailers to recycle. So that's the piece that I want people to really walk away with. The LPs don't need to be doing everything great. They need to focus on growing great products. They don't need to be awesome at packaging. They don't need to distinguish themselves in packaging. I think we can find different ways that they can distinguish themselves and connect with their consumers. And I get it. The only way people are going to remember them right now is they walk into a store and there's pretty packaging and that's the one I'm going to keep buying. That doesn't need to be we don't need to ruin the environment in order for cannabis to survive. So that's the idea that we really want to push through, is concentration on the environment. And I think the other piece that we should chat about is we've created, after speaking to a bunch of retailers, we understand that accessories are probably up to only 6% of their sales, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to spend a huge upfront payments onto accessories. So we've heard them. We talked to a bunch of them. So we created a reseller model that has no minimum orders, no inventory requirements. It's just the upside of revenue. So if we send them one display case to display in the store, and then if somebody buys it from them, they get rev share, the customer gets a discount, and then they get the product to them in a few days. So I think we've really tried to, again, listen to the retailers and the problems and not having inventory on hand for accessories. So that's our solution to it.
That's super smart. Yeah. And, I just want people to, walk away with that as well, that, hey, this is an eco-friendly product. We don't want the plastic bottle problem. You don't want a Coke can in the bottom of the Mariana Trench kind of thing. We don't want cannabis bottles at the bottom of the ocean. So I think this is a great thing to have. I think it's an amazing, feat to overcome, getting into dispensaries and talking to them. It's great, all the stuff you've talked about today. So last thing here, where can people find the product? What's the website, Instagram? Tell us where we can find this amazing product at.
Yourstori.com. So it's available on there, and that's our Instagram handle as well.
Cool. I'll put the links. Some of you'll see those over here and we can get to that. Make sure that you guys look into this product here. It could be a great Christmas gift. It'll ship right around that time. Hey, you buy that, you get it, you fill it up and you give it to your friend or your family. It could be a great Christmas gift or great New Year's celebration gift or, anything else. So again, thank you very much for your time, Karina. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.